very important that if people are considering getting solar, that they do this right away.
For the vast majority of people, I would do it now or not at all until some solution comes up.
All right, today we have with us Andrew Leone. Andrew Leone is with Solar R.E.P.S, and he's going to be talking to us today about why you need solar and why you need to get solar on your house sooner than later. Andrew, please go ahead. Thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Jason.
Oh, my pleasure.
My name's Andrew Leone. The company's called Solar R.E.P.S. It stands for Renewable Energy Partners, and we're a partnership program. We partner primarily with real estate professionals. We're a solar buying service. So we're hired to make sure that the clients of the realtors get a good deal when going solar. You know, the realtors kind of know that everybody's going to be going solar eventually. And it really behooves them that their clients get a decent deal on this so that they don't have to deal with problems down the chains when they get into their escrow, you know, such as these huge loan balances that they have to parlay onto the next buyer, or they don't want their client getting their title handcuffed. I'm sure you've all experienced that if you're in the real estate world with these crazy liens that just gum up the escrow. So they hire us as kind of a value add for their companies.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you know, I've dealt with that a lot. That's, you know, when there's solar on the property, it's like, there's about to be a big headache when it goes to transfer the title over. But we went. I attended one of your Zooms the other day, and that's what made me want to bring you on here. Is you have a different approach to this, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. But first, Andrew, one thing that really stood out to me that I wanted to go over with you and kind of explain to all my clients and all of my viewers is this NEM 3.0. Okay, so I've never heard anything about this. I wasn't too informed about what any of this meant. So I really appreciated you bringing that to the surface for me. So Andrew, please tell us, what is this NEM 3.0 and why is this important for homeowners?
So this is recent legislation that just passed in California. And this was passed by a body called the California Public Utilities Commission. And they've passed this nasty legislation for homeowners, which is called NEM 3.0. And what this means is they're changing the way that they credit you for going solar. And they're basically trying to eliminate rooftop solar. So let me give you this analogy real quick, without getting into all the nuts and bolts of energy, to just put this in layman's terms. Let's say you had furniture, for example, and you wanted to store it with me. And I have a storage company. And you want to store with me, let's say, a bed, a dresser, a mattress, and some end tables. And then you were to come to me at some point, or I would come to you rather, and say, hey, you've been storing this with me, you've been paying a fee, but Jason, I've come to find out that you've got some other stuff in storage somewhere else, and you're getting a better deal on that. And that kind of makes me angry. So what I'm going to do, when you want to come pick this stuff up, I'm going to give you the bed back, but that's it. The rest of your stuff, I'm going to sell to my other customers that are exclusively with me. And you're going to be okay with that, right? Now, as a famous psychologist once said, how does that make you feel? That's basically, in a nutshell, what's going on. So let's put this in the energy context. Let's say you've got solar panels on the roof of your house. It's a sunny day. The sun is shining through the panels. Let's say you're not home to use that energy in real time. Where does the power go? Well, it passes through the home. It goes into the grid. There's a net meter that keeps track of how much has gone in, and you can draw it out from the grid later. That's the system we're on now. It works very well. It's called net metering 2.0. What they're going to do now is when that power passes through your panels, goes into your home, and you don't use it, when it goes into the grid, they're going to give you some of it back, but they're not going to give you all of it back. So that puts a real damper on the benefits of going solar in California. And this is going to click in April 21st, I believe, of this year. So there's kind of like a mad gold rush to go solar now because this is coming in the future, and it's going to make it uneconomical to go solar after that time in most cases.
So what I was reading is they're going to be giving you back like 75% less of the energy that you generate, something like that?
Exactly. So like in the furniture example I just gave you, I gave you back one piece of furniture out of the four pieces that you left with me. It's not just a little bit, it's a lot. So they're trying to basically kill the whole industry here. So it's a real game changer.
What was happening with your energy before? So that 75% less that you're getting, if you didn't use that, didn't you get like a credit?
Right. So that's what net metering basically means is you're keeping track. You know, when you go solar, there's a new meter installed, and that keeps track of the energy that goes in and comes out. So there's cases where you're putting maybe more energy into the grid than you're actually using. Theoretically, you should get a credit back from the utility company in that case. Solar works very well. It works so well, in fact, that they've come up with this NEM 3.0 to stymie it. I know there's a famous saying that says something like old technologies die very hard, right? They go out kicking and screaming. And that's what we're seeing happening now with this NEM 3.0.
So basically, if you don't use the power that you're generating, you're basically losing it, right?
You're basically losing it. They're going to absorb the vast majority of it. And then they take that power. It doesn't just go away. They then resell it to your next door neighbor.
Nice.
So unless you want to help them in their endeavors, it's probably not a good idea after a certain point.
So when is this NEM 3.0 taking effect? Like how long do homeowners have to put solar on their property?
We're getting down to the wire now because this is going to go into effect in mid-April. So we're trying to push as many through as we can now to get metered under the old system. So the only silver lining I could see here is this is very bad for the industry, but for you as a homeowner, you know, since we partner with realtors, what's great is this will be a terrific selling point in the future. You know, years from now, you'll be able to market the home and say, hey, you know what? This house has been grandfathered in with NEM 2.0. It comes with cheaper power than your next door neighbor. That will translate into a higher sales price. So there is some good news there.
So it is grandfathered in. So as long as you get solar before April, they're not. You'll still be able to get the majority of the energy that you'll
be grandfathered in under NEM 2.0. So you'll have a good 20-year run with that, getting a lot of bang for your buck there.
So it's very important that if people are considering getting solar, that they do this right away.
For the vast majority of people, I would do it now or not at all until some solution comes up, some kind of battery solution, which hasn't taken effect yet. But yeah, you definitely want to get your home grandfathered in. If you were thinking about it, I'd look very seriously about it now.
How long does it take for the solar to get put on their property?
You know, it takes about 60 days. And this is one of the great things why we partner with real estate agents primarily is because the customers are used to that kind of a process. It's about the same time frame as a refi or a home purchase where you typically spend, 4 to 12 weeks in an escrow, depending on how things go. So yeah, let's just say about 2 months on the average.
And as long as they're all signed up and signed on the dotted line, are they grandfathered in, or does the solar have to be completed?
Yeah, as long as the application is in before then, but it's kind of on shaky terms. Everyone's treading very lightly right now. It wouldn't surprise me if some whammies pop up there. But in theory, if you have your application in and it's approved, but there definitely are some games being played that we're encountering right now. So we've got a lot of extra manpower on this.
Your company mentioned Solar R.E.P.S. Now, you're not the actual company that's installing the solar, correct?
Yeah, so we're basically channel partners. In your industry, that would be the equivalent of let's say a correspondent lender, so to speak, that we can pick and choose certain aspects of the processes that we use. When you go solar, it's better to have a service contract and a warranty by a public company. So we always try to hook up the clients with one of the large public companies. And you've got huge companies out there now. You've got someone like Sunrun, who's on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, with something like a $17 billion market cap. You don't want someone who's going away when it comes to solar. We call that being orphaned in the industry. And I see it all the time where somebody's bought a system, they've bought it cash, the people aren't around who sold it to them, and that could be a real nightmare. You might spend more fixing it than what you saved.
Right. And so what are the companies that you work with here in Southern California?
Yeah, we work with Sunrun primarily. They have terrific programs. They have an excellent warranty, and they're big. There's a lot of money behind them. you shouldn't have to worry if something goes wrong with the panels.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, because Sunrun is the company that I'm most familiar with. 9 out of 10 properties that we're selling with solar, they're all Sunrun. So talk to me about the upfront costs. I know that the solar market has changed a bit, and so what does it cost to get going with solar? And what is like the monthly fee for this?
So solar's changed tremendously. You're 100% correct over the years. There's kind of the old way and the new way. The old ways were primarily buying cash or getting some type of a loan. So the problems there were lots of money up front, or you had to get some kind of lien put on your property. So thankfully, all that's over now. These companies, you've got these public companies now, they're trying to take over the whole U.S. energy markets. They're very ambitious. So in order to do that, what they determined is, well, how come, a very small amount of people have gone solar up to this point? These companies like Sunrun have determined it's the stuff that we deal with. It's the loans, it's the liens. That's what's keeping the average American homeowner from going solar. So therefore, they've come up with new ways of going solar. Like myself, I have the power purchase agreement, which is a very popular alternative that's come out and been refined recently. In that scenario, you're not buying the panels, you're not leasing the panels. Instead, you're buying the energy produced by the panels rather than the panels themselves. And there's some real advantages to doing it that way. Typically what we strive for with a customer, let's say they want a power purchase agreement, or PPA for short. That would be nothing up front. We would get Sunrun to invest the money. These guys have the big money. Get them to invest. Get them to put the panels on your roof. And instead, you're just buying energy from them at a reduced rate. So typically what we strive for is to have the customer pay nothing up front, get an install from Sunrun or a big company like that. We have to tell them this is not too good to be true. Somebody has to pay for these things. Let's get them to pay for it instead of us having to pay for it. And then your energy bill can typically drop 30, 40, 50%, and there's different targets we try to hit. A great target is 20% more power for 30% less cost. If you get somewhere in there, in that range, you've done a pretty good job.
So zero upfront costs, and you can get the solar panels put on your roof, and no lien on your property.
Right, no lien on the property. And now that recent development, that's what makes the Realtor Solar program work. Before that, kind of solar was the antithesis to real estate. Just like you said in the very beginning, you've had that experience. You've pulled up to a home and seen those panels on the roof because, oh man, I'm going to be dealing with all kinds of problems down the chain here. I think I'd rather concentrate on something else. So that's what's predicated on the program, is it goes through escrow much easier than it used to. No more of those nightmares you've dealt with.
Oh, it can be a nightmare. I've had clients that will not buy the property just because they've heard of the nightmares that solar can bring when it's on the property. And so what do you guys think? Have you ever bought or sold a property and you had like a nightmare with the solar? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. But yeah, that was one of the issues. Every time solar comes up, it's like, man, it almost takes longer to get the solar transferred than it does to sell the property.
It could be a nightmare. And like I said in the beginning, that's why they hire us. Like, let's say you have a client and they're going solar and it's a big home. Eventually, as a real estate professional, your job is to eventually sell that home or move it. You don't want it to be ruined on a solar system. So if these people go out there and get a terrible deal for themselves, or they get lied to, or they get some kind of, adjusting interest rate type of thing, now you're faced with a loan balance, 80 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand, that now you have to parlay on the new buyer. And if this guy's savvy, he might not go for that. So my job is to make sure they go solar in the best way possible. It's a real estate-based program we do here. It's not kind of an energy-based program.
Okay, that makes sense. And what does someone need to qualify? Like, as long as they own the property, do they need like a certain type of credit score, or what type of qualifications are you guys looking for? This
is what's really interesting. We all know when you get a loan for anything, there's usually some kind of debt to income ratio. Solar loans are the same. They do a hard credit check. When you get something like a power purchase agreement, you're just agreeing to buy power at a discounted rate. So all we ask people for in that scenario is a soft credit check. That's just the last four of your social and your date of birth. It's not even a hard credit check. There's no financials at all. So the three criteria are if you can pass a soft credit check with a 650 or higher, if you own the home and you don't rent, and the roof's in decent shape or at least fixable. If you've got those three things, we can generally make it happen.
Well, check this out. I've had a cash buyer that almost didn't qualify for the solar because of their credit score. It was a crazy situation. They had hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase the house, but the solar panels almost killed the transaction because they required so much from them to get qualified just to do the transfer.
This is typical, and that's why solar has had, such a bad name, and rightfully so. Most of my job is I have to bring people up to speed and let them know that, hey, solar used to be a terrible deal. I only got it for myself in the last year. So it was kind of a rich man's novelty before with all these kind of problems attached to it. So thankfully, all that's over now.
So basically, you don't need any type of down payment to get into the solar, and you just start paying a monthly payment. You start paying for the energy that you use at a discounted rate, or can you explain how the monthly payment works?
Think of it in terms of something you deal with every day, like a cell phone. Like what if you just switch cell phones to a different carrier who was less money? If they just gave you a phone, you didn't have to pay for the phone as long as you used it at a discounted rate. That's the theory behind the power purchase agreement. You let them install it. It's their panels. They own it. That means they're responsible for the maintenance. They're responsible for any problems. They're agreeing to sell you X amount of power for X amount of money. And if that's not delivered, then they're in violation of the agreement. It's not something that you own there. So there's some real advantages with that. It depends on the situation. For some people, a loan is still better. But, my job is to sit down with the folks, go and just analyze the whole thing. Look at what they're going to be doing in the future, talking about what are their needs. There's a lot of factors. Hey, are you going to be getting electric cars? Do you have people who are moving in? Are you going to have an empty nest syndrome where people are moving out? Is there a chance you might sell the home in 2 or 3 years? That's really bad for a loan or a cash deal. What if you spend all that money and then wind up moving a few years later? You'll never get that back. So there's a lot of things to be considered there.
Yeah, I've ran into that many times where, they got this loan on a, solar or a pool or something. And, now they're selling the house and they're not going to be able to recoup those expenses. So in this case, it will add value to their property. They'll be grandfathered in as long as they act before April. They won't have to come in with any money down, and they'll see a significant reduction in their electricity, right? So I've seen where you could reduce the electricity costs like 50%, right?
Yeah, there's been cases. I think the most dramatic one we've had lately, was a gentleman in the Rancho Mirage area, and big home. His roof was a flat roof, about the size of a tennis court, about 6,800 square feet. And he was dealing with energy bills of $3,200 to $3,500. And in that case, we got him down to, he paid zero for a system that was worth about $300,000, and his bill went down to $1,400. So that's kind of an extreme example. But yeah, for most people, that's the target you want to hit. You want to get more power for less money, or maybe the same amount of power for a lot less money. But 20% more power for 30% less, or some version of that, either way, is generally a pretty good deal.
Is there like any downside or like any reason why you wouldn't get solar with this type of program that you can think of?
There's downsides to doing it wrong. Like you mentioned, if you don't want to ruin a home sale on a solar system. If you wind up getting a product that's not in your best interest, like you wind up getting a loan that the next buyer has to deal with. Even if you got a decent deal, there's a lot of devil in the details on those loans. There's a lot of stuff called dealer fees, which function like kind of buy down rates in the real estate industry, the big loan balances that need to be passed on. So I think you should definitely have an analysis done to see if it's a good fit. And if it is, you should definitely do it. And after April, I'd really think twice about it. That's for sure in this market.
Well, that's awesome, Andrew. Well, that was definitely some good information. We're going to go ahead and leave a link in the comments. If you guys are interested and you want to jump on the solar panels before this NEM 3.0 comes out, go ahead and fill out the form, and either me or Andrew will get in touch with you as soon as possible. Is there anything else that you wanna add, Andrew?
I would just say, it's really unfortunate that this legislation passed. I mean, this is a blatant money grab by the California Public Utilities Commission. Welcome to California, is all I can say. So I would say, as a homeowner, I would just, encourage you, hey, look on the bright side. If it makes sense for you, I think you'll be very happy that you did it now. And I think a main reason is that once you're kind of trapped on the grid and this thing passes and it's not economical to go solar anymore, what are you going to do when they just jack these rates up? There's nothing stopping these utility companies from raising their rates anytime that they like. Typically in Southern California, you see it go up about 10% a year. Your bill doubles every 10 or 11 years in most areas. Since this NEM is coming along, we've seen San Diego County is up about 18% this year. So if you can get off the grid, the less you need to rely on them, the better. And it's timely to start looking at that now.
And there's a lot of talk about the Tesla solar roofs. How would you compare to that, or have you had any experience with that compared to traditional solar panels?
Yeah, it's kind of a novelty. It doesn't function. It looks great. That thing looks futuristic and just super cool. But at this point, with how it is, it's kind of a novelty. It doesn't really save you anything. You want to, right now, the best way to go is to have your roof checked out, set some satellite imagery, just see where the hot spots are, see how much you could save. If money is not an object, it's something cool to brag about that you've got a solar tile roof.
All right, Andrew Leon, thank you so much. If you guys are interested in getting solar put on your property, we're going to go ahead and leave a link in the comments so that you can reach out to Andrew. Thank you so much, Andrew. We really appreciate all this good information. I hope this was really educational for some people and that they really hurry up and jump on the solar before this NEM 3.0 takes effect. If you guys found value from this video, please remember to subscribe and like the videos. They help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And Andrew, thank you so much, and I appreciate it, and we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself. Thanks for having me.